So we talked about good things, now let's talk about bad things. Now let's witness me lose my mind. So, like I said, I have about 20 movies here, and there's about 5 different categories. Okay. So, the first category, I just called it dumb, because the movie's just dumb. There's three of them. There's Fantasy Island, The Tax Collector, and Horse Girl. Now, before we continue on about saying anything, I didn't realize my Fantasy Island review had no sound, and no one told me that review has no sound, so I just have a review with no sound on my channel, and it's funny because it has views. No one said anything. No one said like, hey, is your video muted? Da-da-da. Nothing. And I'm in the original, like, file I deleted, so, like, I can't, like, just re-upload it. And I'm not gonna delete it, because I think it's funny for me to have, like, a 20-minute video where you just watch me flail my arms and shout, quote-unquote, and you don't hear what I'm saying. So I'm like, I'm just keeping this up. Anyway. So yeah, Fantasy Island, based on the television show Fantasy Island. So the movie is just, you know... It's trying to be, it's terrible horror. You know, it's pretty much, be careful what you wish for, Fantasy Island. So, you know, some people are like, I want all the chicks, I want to be a drug lord, all that stuff. But then it's like, there's something about this island. So pretty much, like, the whole movie, it's dumb. It's like, the island grants the wishes, but it can't just grant wishes, it has to, like, kill you and take things away, and I don't need to divulge any further of what the movie does. It's just stupid. Because, you know, people are like, am I seeing a ghost? Oh my god! It's so dumb, and one by one people die, and then there was, like, I think whatever, like, the reasoning why, it's just so dumb. It's just dumb. That's why it's under the category dumb. It's like, if I talk more about it, it's giving this movie too much credit. So yeah, there's that. Then the next one is called The Tax Collector, and I wasn't even gonna, like, bother watching this movie, to be very honest. I wasn't, like, it was gonna be, like, I might have watched it probably, like, later this year, or the next year, or whenever it's like, oh, hey, look at that, okay, I've got 95 minutes or whatever shit, but I put it on because Paul suggested me to watch it, because he watched it, so I had to watch it. No, he didn't suggest it as in, this movie's good, Joe, you need to watch it. He said, oh my god, Joe, this movie sucks. I think you have to watch it. It'll be a great review. So I watched it, and so I knew going in I was going to be disappointed. I mean, again, I wasn't going to watch this movie anyway, but Paul said, no, it really sucks. So I'm like, great, now I have to, you know, it sucks. So, the only thing I initially knew about this movie was that there was a quote-unquote controversy. Quote-unquote. You know, when people are mad at things to be mad at. So, the movie is called Tax Collector. The lead is a Latin guy, and Shia LaBeouf is also in the movie. But via the trailer, it looks like... It's not, but in the trailer, it looked like Shia LaBeouf was doing, like, brown face, per se. Because it's about, you know, mob stuff, but, like, drug lord, you know... But Shia LaBeouf's in it, so people thought, wait, is Shia LaBeouf doing, like, brown face or something? But the director came out and was like, no, he's white, everyone knows he's white. So, you know, there was all, you know, like, the controversy where, like, I see something in the trailer I don't like, so I'm gonna boycott this movie. I mean, people probably should have just boycotted anyway, because it was a sucky movie. So you watch the movie, right? You watch the movie, and initially, it's fine. Because Shia LaBeouf and the main character, they're quote-unquote tax collectors, which is they take the money with whatever the mob or whatever this organized gang owes these people. So, again, that's why they're called tax collectors. Now, obviously, if you don't give the money, they kill you, they do the thing, you know, mob shit, right? So, it seems like, fine, one of these movies that you just put on, there's guns and, you know, action stuff, you're probably like, you know what, it's not the best movie, but you just put it on in the background, it's fun, watch it with friends. No, it's not. Because you get frustrated watching this movie. Because, you, like, Shia LaBeouf, his character is supposed to be tatted like crazy. He's got a suit on, sunglasses on, trying to look mad cool. Like, he's trying to be like Shades from Luke Cage, you know, like that kind of coolness, you know? But instead, fucking deflated condom, you know, just, you know? Because his character, you think, because the way how he's portrayed, you think he's gonna go guns a-blazing, it's gonna be like great gun choreography shit, like play it up that Shia LaBeouf is gonna be this guy who's gonna be like excellent marksman and all that stuff. He's a cool guy with the shades and but never in the movie do you see him do something awesome. He's just there. He's just there in a suit with the shades on at night as well, with the suitcase full of money kind of stuff. You never see him go off and like, you know, it's never like the, you know, none of that, like, in, like, what was it the movie, like Romeo and Juliet when at the gas station and it's like the gun fight. None of that shit. There are gunfights in the movie, but like somehow he's not involved, or he somehow gets captured. Like, what? You're supposed to be the cool guy and you get captured and tortured? Really, bitch? And then the last one in this, because like I said, so dumb. And the last one's called Horse Girl, which I don't even know what category this movie is in. So it's a weird woman. So it's another thing I even mentioned in my review where like I really hate when like pretty actresses play ugly parts, because then it's like, am I supposed to empathize with you? You know what I mean? Because it stars Alison Brie, and I think, did she direct or she write it? Like, she was part of it more than just the main actress. But Alison Brie's a pretty girl, you know? And then she plays, like, this, like, ugly, dopey, like, I'm a crafter, because she works at a craft store, so of course I was triggered, you know? She works at a craft store, you know? She's definitely that person that, like, comes up to you at the craft store. She's like, what project are you working on? Oh my god. And you're just like, oh my god, get away from me. I know you live alone. You know, like, that kind of stuff. She also believes that she's being abducted.
As in currently?
Yes. Because at night she'll have like these dreams where she's like on a white slat and she looks to her left, looks to her right, and there's a guy and then there's a girl, and then she like comes back and then she wakes up from her dream and she's like, I've been abducted. You know? And it's like, not that, yeah, she believes she's being abducted, not that she doesn't have like underlining, you know, mental illness that needs to be diagnosed, you know? And the thing is that this movie does a terrible job with trying to make you sympathize or empathize, either one, with the main character. Because it makes me more frustrated with the main character. She'll see, like, oh, the guy that she saw while she was quote-unquote abducted, she saw him, you know, because her craft store is in a strip mall, obviously, who works, I think, as an electrical or HVAC or one of those kind of, like, utility people at the strip mall. And all I'm thinking is, like, she probably has just seen him around, because if he's doing one of those utility things, he's probably just seen him around, and then brought him into Dream World, you know what I'm saying? And so, but she thinks, oh, he's also an abductee, so I need to find a way to approach him to be like, do you know you've been abducted recently? And then the movie ends with her, like, floating up into the air. So, like, is she really being abducted? Or is the movie wanting me to think she's really being abducted? You know what I'm saying? And, like, and again, it's not one of those, like, keep it open-ended, and maybe, you know, you can discuss with friends later about, no, it's more of the, what the fuck just happened?
Why is it called Horse Girl?
Oh, I just realized I never explained that. I just realized I never explained that. It's called Horse Girl because, she has a horse that's, maybe a show horse or something, but they had to give it away to, like, this family for, like, at this ranch. And she keeps, like, every day after work or something, she keeps going to the ranch and, like, visiting the horse. And the family is, like, visibly not okay with her being there. They're like, hey, can you leave? They're like, it's not even subtle. They're literally like, can you leave? Can you step back?
Oh, God. Well, it sort of seems like everything with, you know how, like, everything with Kanye, like, it was just, he was running for president and everything, and Kim was just saying, I support my husband, and no one was doing anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next category, you'll like this category. Well, it's because we talked about these movies already. This next category is called, Are the Straights Okay? And we don't really have to talk much about these because we already talked about them. So the three movies are Holiday, Operation Christmas Drop, and Wild Mountain Time. We've already talked about it on end watching the movies. But again, are the straights okay? Because again, just to reiterate, with Holiday, perpetuating the thing of she needs a man to feel complete, and then she finds a man, a Hemsworth reject, who is apparently 30 years old or 31 years old and has like so many wrinkles. Man,
Yeah.
white people, y'all need to just, I keep saying it. I'm like looking at my nails like, y'all need to learn to just, I'm like looking here, I'm like, yeah, I have makeup on because I have mad acne because I am in my 30s and I'm still going through puberty apparently, you know?
Right.
Anyway, Operation Christmas Drop is stupid because as the woman loosens up more, her hair becomes more natural, which I thought was like the dumbest thing, you know? Such a stupid ass movie. Like the dumbest fucking movie. It's like the sad thing is like based on a real thing. Like I feel like that's where part of me felt bad because I was shitting on the movie, but I was like, oh, this feels bad because like there's an actual good dude out there who's been like dropping supplies for people for Christmas. But then again, you pick, you know, big chin no lip guy as your, you know, main hunk or whatever you want to call it. Ugh.
Well, it's like it's also weird to see how low their budget is because sometimes, you know, oh, they're in a helicopter or a plane or something, and then you see the boxes that they're dropping, and they're like the cardboard boxes we could get like at a UPS store.
Right. And I'm like, and then they drop it into water, and I'm like, so everything's soaked? Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for, oh, cool. Thanks for the new generators. Oh, sweet. New laptops, you know? Like, Jesus Christ.
I was just thinking like dry foods. Oh, thanks for the cereal. Oh.
Right? Like all that kind of shit. Yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks. And of course, the last one is Wild Mountain Time, which, Jesus Christ.
Does not make sense.
Was like, I love that both you and Taylor were like, both of you were like, what do they mean by this? And I like that you both were not asking me, but practically interrogating me to like tell you stuff that the movie didn't tell me. And I was like, I don't know. And then like Taylor, she's like, I'm gonna have to check this movie out. I know you're not going to, and that's okay.
I don't want to. I'd much rather have you watch it, and then I'll be like, so it just ends.
Yeah.
No one's.
Just, yeah. Like, just a non-ending movie. Yeah. Like, yeah. Like I said, I always tell people, you don't have to watch it. There's some bad movies where I'm like, no, you have to watch it. But then there's some where it's like, no, don't bother. Don't bother, you know.
I'm a bee. Well, I'm a swan, so it's fine. No. I'm actually a bee.
How did you know? I've always known. And then that's what I even said it in the review. I was like, is this like white people? The white people, ha! I love how I went to white people. Is this like straight people trying to equate people who are like, well, I don't identify as male or female. I'm non-binary. Or like, oh, I'm trans. And they're like, well, I can say I'm a B. You know, like that kind of shit. It's like, wow, that's offensive, you piece of shit. You know?
Yeah, but someone went off and they made a play and a movie.
They sure did. So yeah, there's that. Speaking of what we were talking about before. So this next category is called Too Woke, quote unquote. Too Woke.
Oh.
There's two movies. One is The Hunt and the other one is Antebellum. So The Hunt, this is another movie that had like controversy when the trailer came out. So when the trailer came out, a lot of conservatives were very mad because they're like, oh, it's just liberals want to round up conservatives and want to kill us and all that stuff. Yeah, that's kind of the concept of the movie. But then, like, the movie didn't really deliver on that. So...
well, it's disappointing
for
everyone.
So this movie looked like it was, like, the liberal version of The Purge, you know? Where instead of, like, The Purge, where you're just rounding up a bunch of black and brown people and killing them for funsies, you know? This one is like, okay, you're gonna round up a bunch of conservatives and call, you know, The Hunt, and then have them, like, run free in, like, this land, thinking that they're just trying to, you know, whatever. Anyway, you do that. But, okay, so the movie does that, right? They capture the conservatives, and the conservatives are such wild caricatures of what conservatives are. I mean, some of it's very spot on, you know, that kind of stuff. You got the red-blooded American, you got the tiki torch guy, you got the, you know, whatever, you know. It's so surface level. They are just stereotypes, just caricatures of these people we've seen. And then the people who are supposed to play, I guess, like the liberals or something, they're also very superficial, like surface level people. So it turns out one of the people they captured was this woman, and she has like a similar name to this other woman, so they captured the wrong lady. So then she ends up being like, well, I'm gonna fight for my life, and for some reason she's got some kind of training because she's like killing them. She like is like Jason Bourne because she realizes, she's like, whoa, we're not in the US, because she's like, this pickup truck that is parked outside this gas station that's supposed to look like something in the South, you know, there's this license plate that's covering up a European license plate. Oh, she went to go buy cigarettes at the rest stop, asked how much the cigarettes were. They told her it was this price, but really it's this price because she knows it so well. It's like, wow, all this random happenstance that you know so well. And she's the protagonist. You're supposed to have her back, per se. I mean, I didn't care about anyone in this fucking movie. I didn't care if everyone fucking died, because they're all fucking stupid. They're all caricatures. It's stupid, and it's like dumb woke culture shit, you know, where it's like, we do this movie where it's like we're hunting down conservatives, but you don't even do it well. You know what I mean? Like, this movie was trying to be satirical, but like didn't fully read the definition of what satire was. Like, they weren't good at it, so it was just a failure. And the next one is called Antebellum. I think this one is on Amazon. You can watch it on Prime. And again, it's overcorrective wokeness that I can't stand. So it stars Janelle Monáe, and so this is from the perspective of, so it's called Antebellum, so it has to deal with slavery stuff, so delicious. So the movie initially is like kind of confusing because you're like, is this taking place in the past? Is it taking place in the future? Because you see Janelle Monáe like as a slave, and then you see her in current times, like, you know, with her like Beyonce fit workout gear, doing hot yoga like in a hotel room kind of stuff. So turns out, again, rich white people have a plot of land, like the movie The Village, which is not a good thing when I have to compare your movie to The Village, you know? So, there's a plot of land like The Village, and that's where they, like, recreate slavery time, because that's, you know, time they want to get back to. And so, they capture a bunch of people, Janelle Monáe's character being one of them, and so they get to, like, reenact slavery time. Fun, good old for all. But my problem with this movie is that, just like The Hunt, it's doing the caricature thing. So it's doing the whole, like, these, you know, these racist white people who want to bring us back to slavery ages, but there's such a caricature. Obviously, you can hate on the side that obviously wants slavery again, but you're also like, there's such a caricature. It's like hating on them just makes you look dumb, because then it's like they're not even real people to hate, you know? Her character is fine, but her character's also dumb as shit, because the way how she got kidnapped was that her and her friends were out to dinner. Her friends call an Uber, she calls an Uber, and she just gets in this vehicle without even checking the license plate, checking if the driver looks like their picture, and doing all the checks that I do. She gets in, there's loud club music playing, they're like, hey, can you turn that down? And then her phone rings, it's her real Uber driver, who's like, hey, I'm your Uber driver. And she's like, oh, no, you're already here, I'm already in your car. What is that, what? What?
What?
Also, I didn't like the fact that Uber driver wasn't, like, the voice on the phone wasn't like, hey, it's your Uber driver, where are you? They gave it an accent, but again, it was a caricature. It was, I am your Uber driver! They went there. You can't have a woke movie, big quotes, and then do that. You can't do that. Like, if you want a list of movies that can talk about race relations and all that stuff without bullshit overcorrectness, I can give you a list on the good stuff, but this is not one of them, you know? It's done poorly.
Considering the only Asian character is not even seen, it sounds like, and it's just an Uber driver. Yes, I eat dog on weekend, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's I'm surprised that so many people are surprised that it's just there's so much Asian hate going on right now. Exactly. Just because that's been, those sort of accents and those stereotypes have been going on forever.
Yeah.
Like, everyone Black culture has been appropriated so much in the state, well, in the Western world in general, and so has Asian culture,
Uh-huh.
and no one really notices that. Hey, maybe there's a couple of the Asian girls in California who get to have like the larger mansions, or not so much even mansions, just larger houses and get to benefit from that. But it's still like, that's not the majority of us.
Right. Right. So the next category, there are 7 movies in this category, and it's art house slash horror. So of course I have a lot to say.
Yes.
Because they're all not good movies. I'm definitely gonna give you short blips of them, But anyway, so just to list the movies, we have Relic, Amulet, What Lies Below, Smiley Face Killers, You Should Have Left, The Turning, and The Room. So, funny enough, this movie, The Room, is the title fits it better than Tommy Wiseau's thing, but you know what? Tommy Wiseau, we love him. So this one, this couple moves into some, like, big old house, because apparently people our age can just move into a big house like that, Anyway, so they figure out there's a room in there, and they figure out that that room grants wishes. So, this movie has a room that's like a monkey paw, Like, so, it grants wishes. So, of course, they do stupid things like diamonds and money and caviar and, and paintings and da-da-da. Fine, right? They get all that stuff. So then they have all this money. So one time the husband goes out of the house, goes to like get gas. They said it cost this much. He reaches in his pockets for his money. Oh, it's all dust. What? You can't take the stuff out of the house? Oh no, who knew there'd be a stipulation to this shit? Right? So, so they wish for all that stuff, and then like there's one part where like they wish for a baby, and they got a baby. But the wife doesn't know that you can't take the baby outside. But the husband doesn't say, don't bring any of the stuff we wish for outside the house because it will disintegrate. Instead, he's just like, no, don't. The baby doesn't need to go outside. And the wife's like, well, I want to like walk around the house and give it fresh air. You can't even like walk around the land. You pass the threshold of the door and it starts like disintegrating. Like crazy. Also, because the baby was created by the room, it like grows really quick because we love that kind of plot device, where it's like, I'm a baby, I'm 7 years old, I'm 14, that kind of stuff. So every so often the baby just grows, like, oh my god, it's only been 3 days and how are you 8 years old? Like, because the plot said so. Anyway, at one point, the child ends up being like young adult age, which is funny because the couple is probably early 30s, mid 30s, And so then somehow the child can shapeshift and actually end up. And so there's one part where like, they thought they got away from their son, who is young adult right now, because they're like, this kid just won't leave us alone. So then like the husband is like, oh, we've got time alone. So the husband starts like, kind of making out with the wife and starts touching her body. And then he stops and while his hands is on the wife, he goes, I've watched how you both do it, Mommy. And it's like, oh, that's so, oh, no. Because then it's like it's the face of the husband, the voice of the son. And I'm like, ew, no. And then there's like that kind of like moment of like, I'm your real husband. No, I'm your real husband. That kind of thing. And it's just like, then she like she figures out which one's the real husband, kicks the son in like the groin or something so he falls down, so then runs away, from the guy. It's so stupid. So then like, so of course he reverts back to his son who's a young adult, and then at one point like, anyway, so the couple like runs out of the house. The son doesn't realize you can't survive outside the house. He runs out of the house and he turns into an old man outside the house, like, old, like, goes in the fetal position, and then just, like, disintegrates. And that was The Room 2020. There's this movie called Relic, which I even said in my review that this movie probably wished it could have been named Hereditary, but it would have been too soon. Because this is one of those, like, art house horror ones, because it's trying to be like Hereditary, very art housey, very like not that kind of horror film, but becomes that kind of horror film, that kind of stuff. Pretty much this movie, it's called Relic, but this movie wanted to be called Hereditary because it's about like a mother, a daughter, a grandma, and they go to the grandma's house, and her house is like slowly falling apart, but like the home is kind of a manifestation of the grandma, that kind of shit. And the grandma has dementia and all that shit, and they know that sooner or later, because funny enough, dementia is hereditary, that is their future. And like somehow the grandma just, it's something about horror films and disintegrating. The grandma just shrivels up into like a black, like charred prune thing. I don't know. This movie was trying to be something it's not, pretty much. Like it was shot all right. Like color palette was decent, but you know, I've said it before, like you can't always win me over just because you got a good color palette. You can draw me in with that, but you need to have, you know, things gotta hit all the points, you know? The next movie is called Amulet. And like I said, I'm just gonna give you a snippet of it. I have a full review where I go off on it, but pretty much this movie is a very man-hating movie, and I'm not okay with that.
Okay.
I'm not okay with man-hating. It's a movie about like a down-and-out ex-soldier who is just trying to find a place to live and do odd jobs to make money. And so this woman says, hey, if you live in this house and help fix it up and take care, you know, all that stuff, like, they'll give you a place to live and, you know, eat and all that stuff. So he's like, yeah, like, you know. You follow the story of the guy, and you know, you feel bad for him. Like, he's an ex-soldier, no one's really helping him. Okay, fine, someone gave him the opportunity to live in this house that's kind of falling apart, but he's got to help fix it up. And while that's happening, you know, there's a girl in the house that's like, here, I'll make you food, you know, you have a place to live. And oh, like, my mother is old and I take care of my mother. Okay, it seems very fine. And then, like, weird shit starts happening, you know, like these movies do. So there's a scene where the guy is like unclogging a toilet, and there's a thing at the end of the bowl, and I was like, is that a fetus? Does this movie want me to love it, you know? Again, another way to draw me into a movie is go, maybe there's a fetus, and I go, ooh, I want to see, and then I go, why'd you disappoint me, movie? So it looks like a fetus, but he like pulls it out of the toilet, and it's like a hairless bat. It's a dead, hairless bat.
Alright.
So, then he, like, you know, then the girl walks into the room and sees, like, the dead, hairless bat. He goes, that was in the toilet. And she goes, like, trying to cover it up. The weird shit is, you go see Mother, per se, up in the attic, but she's not in a bed, she's like in the corner, and all of a sudden Mother is like, and it's like, is Mother giving birth? And she gives birth to one of those, like, bat things, and I was like, how? You then find out that Mother isn't Mother, because the main guy finds an article that says, like, man goes missing, and the photo of the man in the fucking news article is wearing the shirt that he is currently wearing. And you're like, oh shit. And then you realize, because you don't really see her face, then you look at Grandma's face, it's the man. Like, what white feminist man-hating shit is this?
But I feel like there's usually a point, like...
Exactly!
But why bats? Who directed it?
A first-time female director who is normally an actress. Yeah, she's white.
Okay, yeah, well, no.
Yeah.
Next film about...
things. So...
What?
The next one is called You Should Have Left. And this one, like, oh my god, people, like, hype this one up. Because Kevin Bacon's in it, Amanda Seyfried's in it, like, big names are in it. And I was like, oh, cool, I like Kevin Bacon. This movie was stupid. It was stupid as shit. So, you know, Kevin Bacon, obviously he's an older gent. Amanda Seyfried, of course, she's a younger lady. But they play a married couple. And they mention that in the movie a lot, like, oh, this older guy's married to this young girl. Like, they mention it. So it's not just like a thing that you're like, is no one going to acknowledge it? It's acknowledged a lot. So, like, she's a movie star, and he, like, they give the backstory of, like, you know, he killed his previous wife, like, that kind of shit. So the entire time the movie is trying to be like, he might kill Amanda Seyfried. He might kill Amanda Seyfried. You know, that kind of stuff. So because they're rich white people and they have to get away from whatever luxury they already have, so they rent this house in the middle of somewhere to get away. And they also have a child, you know, like you do, but that doesn't matter. So this movie becomes like a weird kind of like haunted house kind of movie because they're like, is it the house or is it in your mind? You know? And it's technically it's both with this movie. It's in the house and it's in your mind.
All right, might as well give you like a double exposure of
Yeah.
insanity. Why not?
Right.
Why not?
When they're in the house, like weird stuff happens. You know, it's a very big house, so like Kevin Bacon will like go to one room and then go to another room and he'll find a Polaroid, which is obviously a silhouette of himself, but he doesn't remember. But he's like, what's this random Polaroid anyway? Moving on with my day. Like, it's so dumb. And then like the house also makes you lose time because like he went to just go like walk around the house and turn off the lights. He comes back and he's like, damn, like look at Amanda Seyfried already passed out. And you're like, oh, like what the hell? And then she like jolts up. She goes, oh my god, I had a scary dream. And he's like, okay, whatever. Because when he left the room, it was like 10:30 at night. But then when he came back, the clock said 3 in the morning. You know? Ooh, he lost time. How? Whatever. Is it the house? Is it his brain? Who knows? You know? And one time he like looked at his notebook and it said, you should have left. And he goes, what the hell? And realized, that's my handwriting. I don't remember writing that. Huh? Long story short, turns out he technically didn't kill his previous wife, but he kind of did at the same time. So he didn't really kill her, but at the same time, you could say he killed her because he didn't go and help her because she drowned in the tub. So he knew she was in the tub and he heard her struggling and he just walked away. You know? So he technically didn't kill her, but like he did because he knew she was struggling, you know? And the whole thing of the whole title of You Should Have Left was because his relationship with his previous wife wasn't going well. And he should have left the relationship before it was starting to sour. So, because she was struggling and all that stuff, he left her and she died. And like, it was like the whole thing of like, you should have left your relationship early. So it didn't have to get to a point where you were happy that she died in front of you kind of stuff. Because the relationship with his current wife, Amanda Seyfried, was starting to become sour because he was starting, because she's younger than him. And again, y'all chose to marry each other and chose to have the kid, but he was starting to not trust her because she's a movie star and because she's so young and, you know, she has to film sex scenes because she's a young starlet and all that stuff. So he thinks that she's cheating on him because when she goes to shower, he goes and checks her phone, goes and checks her laptop, goes and checks her tablet, like checks all that stuff.
Should have gotten like just their own therapist early on, or even done couples counseling, realized that it wouldn't work out, and then moved on.
Yep.
Or don't get married.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, so anyway, the next movie is called The Turning. The story, it was so dumb. Apparently it's adapted from the same book that the Haunting of Bly Manor is adapted from. And I remember in my review I said, okay, I know Mike Flanagan is not going to disappoint, blah, blah, blah. And oh my god, this movie is so shit. And then whatever Mike Flanagan did with The Haunting of Bly Manor, first of all, The Haunting of Bly Manor is chef kiss. It's Mike Flanagan knows what the fuck he's doing. It's good shit, you know? But oh my god, this one is so bad because this movie has 3 endings and no endings at the same time. Okay, so long story short, this woman goes to be a nanny in this big house to take care of these kids. Fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but then like again, weird stuff starts happening. Okay, you know? But then it's like, again, is it her? Is it the house? This all sounds very familiar, right? Is it her? Is it the house? Or is it the kids fucking with her? Like, where is the ending? What is happening? Is it her? Is it the house? Is it the kids? Which one is it? And you know what? The movie just fades to black and you don't know.
So there's no point.
There's no point. There's no point. And again, like, I don't know what the original book is. I don't know how close this is to the source material, so I don't know. But again, whatever the fuck Mike Flanagan did for The Haunting of Bly Manor is amazing, and it's so good, so I don't fucking care. If this is exactly closer to the book than whatever the fuck Mike Flanagan did. Because this is so stupid. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway. Fuck. So then, the next one is called Smiley Face Killers, and that's based on the actual, like, I think it's like an urban legend, but there was like a bunch of killings that happened at like a beach, and then like, they don't know if it's one person or a group of people, and it was like real killings that happened, I think in the 90s or something, and they would leave like a smiley face, so they called it the Smiley Face Killers, because they don't know if it's one person or a group of people and all that shit. So this movie initially like was like, okay, it's like, again, one of those things where like, I see where you're going with this. Oh, we're going this route movie. So this movie like follows like this semi like generic attractive white guy, so you know I just was not having it. And the also like whoever does the killings, there's a type that they like. They like the very like slim fit white generic dude, you know? And this happens in California, so that was a plenty to grab, you know?
Yeah.
So, initially, you're just following, like, this main guy, and you're thinking, okay, so he'll be the main guy, and there'll be a bunch of other dudes who are gonna die, and he'll probably be, like, the main dude who ends up dying. Pretty much that's how the movie goes. But at the same time, you kind of don't care about the main character, because he's just so boring, generic white guy that you're like, I really don't care. So, and I know you're gonna die, so move on, die, you know? It's kind of like the later Final Destination movies, where like, how are these people gonna die? Let's just see how they die, I don't care, you know? Or like the later Saw movies, like, let's just see the traps, who cares about these people, you know? Like, you just don't care about the characters, you just want to see the death and then move on with your day, you know? So, you follow him and you're like, okay, whatever. And then like, as the movie progresses, like, more and more victims are killed, and you find out, okay, there's that certain type, and so of course you learned like, oh no, main guy I'm following in this movie, he's gonna definitely be a victim, you know, but you don't care. And again, so they call it an urban legend because again, they don't know if this killing was done by one person, two people, or like it was made up, you know, that kind of stuff. But there were people who died, so whatever. So then this movie decides to like take a deep like dive over, you know, somewhere over into a pit of lava, because then this movie was saying that yes, these killings are true, they do happen, but it's run by a cult.
Okay.
So then like the guy gets captured in a van, and then there's like a cult lady and a dude and people in robes, and it was just that I'm done. Like, that's the movie. Yeah, so the final one in this category is What Lies Below, and you heard me go off about that one. That's the movie that drew me in with the neon lights and then wanted me to fuck the stepdaddy while I'm watching the movie, and I was like, I'm not having this.
Oh, that, yes, that
the one where he had the period blood on his hand and then licked his finger and said, "That's fine." Yeah, he did it. He did it. Oh yeah, he did. He did it. He did it. I screamed watching that. And I'm someone who bleeds often. And I went, no, I don't put that to my mouth, bitch. You
no,
nasty.
That's not where that goes.
You nasty. You nasty. And then also the fact that the guy was like, hot stepdaddy. He's like, yeah, I'm 30. And I was like, you're an awful 30. If you told me you were like 43, I'm like, oh, you're a good 43. You're an awful 30. Like, you know, he was just gonna, like, breed the mom and all that shit, like this weird alien thing, and it wasn't really, like, fully explained. Yeah, I sound crazy talking about this movie, don't I?
His breakout movie? That's terrible.
He's been in a couple other ones, but I guess, like, I guess more of, like, a lead guy. Yeah, this is, like... Yeah, so, like, it's pretty much like he pulls, like, the young hot thing, to try to get, like, the mom, and then the mom is, like, I guess you would say the MILF of it, and then, he has his, like, those, like, leech thingies that have, like, teeth, and you'll see it, like, pressed up against the glass. It's like, ugh, how I always describe, like, that's what my vagina looks like, it's just a suction with teeth. But yeah, with that movie, it's just like this guy just trying to get with, the wife, and then, tries to impregnate her and all that stuff, and then she's not able to give birth to these creatures correctly, probably because she's too old for it. Because she lied and said, she's like, oh yeah, I told him I'm like 37, but I'm actually 42. Well, yeah, because you're past your birthing prime. That's why his alien babies didn't come out correctly, And then because, like, the daughter, like, has her period. I told you about the scene where, like, she's in the shower, and then he, like, sneaks up and, like, grabs the t-shirt that's covered in her period blood, and then he, like, walks away, like, sniffing at it and shit. Like, oh, man. Because, like, the daughter is, of a ripe age. They do mention in the movie several times that she's only 16. Anyway, so, then of course he ends up, like, trapping her in, like, a cocoon of, anyway, does anyone really matter what happens in the end? She's one of the many women who are trapped in a cocoon of weirdness, and I'm not lying about the cocoon thing, that will probably just be impregnated and have to just give birth to more weird alien babies. Like, I remember in my review, I said this movie was this director, because it's a writer-director, because he did everything, that he had a bunch of kinks that he wanted to express, and it wasn't going to work out if he was just going to make porn. Like, he needed to put in, like, a feature, like, sci-fi horror movie,
Mm-hmm.
He definitely was like, I remember I was like, in my review I was talking about, I was like, he's got the stepdaughter, the stepdaddy, the MILF. I was like talking about, I was like, the breeding kink, the blood kink. I was like, he's got all these kinks, and he wanted to show everybody his kinks, and wanted to be like, I'm a filmmaker, And I was like, do you, boo-boo, okay? Like, still don't like this movie.
Yep.
So, for the final category, which we did not film this on a different day, don't look at my eyebrows or my hair, or Masami's complete change of outfit. Totally, not a different day, Anyway, so the final category we're talking about with the worst of movies is sequels/franchise. And there is 5 movies in it. There's The Grudge, The Boy 2, New Mutants, Wonder Woman 1984, and The Craft Legacy. Now with The Grudge, it was pretty much like a sequel, but like trying to slightly reboot it and all that stuff. Now, with a lot of the Asian horror films, one of my favorites is the original, well, not the original, but like Ju-on The Grudge from Japan, because it works so well. It's got an amazing creep factor to it. The scares aren't like, blah, 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 blah. It's just more of like, yo, what is that fucking, did you see that shit in the background? Like, that shit I love, So this one, does not take place in Japan. You don't see the Grudge ghost that we know, Kayoko, only in the beginning for like 2 seconds. It's like this, social worker leaves like a house, you just see like the arm, like scary ghost arm, and then like that's it. Like being like, that ghost latched onto the social worker and she brought it back to the States, that kind of stuff. And then some people were trying to say like, because John Cho is in this movie, they were trying to be like, oh, maybe it's not Japanese anymore, it's Korean because it's John Cho. And I'm like, okay, fine, switch to Asians, but it's not. It's just John Cho's in it, it doesn't have to do with anything Asian. It's just that John Cho's in it. Also, John Cho's character has like the whitest name in the world. His name was like Robert Spencer or something like that. Like, you were probably
adopted.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you were probably adopted. And it's just like, it's dumb. It's just dumb. It really has nothing to do with the actual Grudge, series, or Ju-on series, or whatever not. One of the main characters was his mom, and, like, poor dialogue writing. Like, you know how sometimes it's like, if a character has a specific job, like if they were a cop or if they're like a journalist or something, you don't really need to like say it. You just show them like walking into their office, and then you can figure out like, oh, they're a cop, or they're a journalist, or hey, they're a, high school janitor. But the movie starts off with like the son feeling like shit, and the mom comes up to him and the mom just goes, honey, my job as a police officer, I'll make sure you're okay. And I was like 5 to 10 minutes into the movie. I had to pause and I went, did we have to write it like that? So next is Brahms, The Boy 2. Did you ever watch The Boy, the first one?
No, I think honestly the only film, well, I know that The Boy isn't on your list, but I think the only film that I've seen on your list is 1984.
Right.
Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah.
Everything else is just a new experience of just utter bile.
Okay. No, that's fine. So this is obviously a sequel, but the first one is he's like this sweaty wall man because he has like a tank top on, and he's got like all this chest hair to his neck, and he's got a beard, but then he has a porcelain doll mask on his face, and then he just is like lusting over the nanny, and like it's like this weird kind of creepy thing going on. Anyway, so from what I've learned in like the recent months after I watched this movie, is that apparently in the first movie he didn't have the porcelain mask on. He was just gonna be like, grr, big, tall, burly, sweaty, hairy man busting through a wall, Kool-Aid Man style, right? But apparently test audiences had watched the movie and were like, I think he's hot. Like, ooh, it's a big burly guy with a beard coming through, yes! Anyway.
Wait.
So then they had to CGI a mask onto him.
Oh. I mean, it could actually be Chris Evans breaking through my wall. I would freak out. Why would he be naked, hairy, and just like seeping through the wall, or like whatever he does, and just like rust out after like obviously being in the walls and me knowing that there's something in the walls, and it's Chris Evans. I'm not gonna be like, well, at least it's Chris Evans. I am going to scream.
Well, yes, exactly. Okay, so with the sequel's named after the guy. It's Brahms, the boy, too. So you're thinking, okay, because in the end of the first movie, he gets stabbed in the stomach, like with a screwdriver, and he's not really dead, he's just kind of like slightly incapacitated. So we all thought that the sequel would be like, oh, it's him, probably like living in the walls again, and then probably trying to get like another lady to like be the nanny, in the home, like, like another victim kind of thing, like, so that's what we all thought. This is what we thought it was gonna happen. So what actually...
I have a question.
Yeah, go on, move on.
Obviously, I would have to watch the movie to like get everything. So that was his way to pick up chicks?
No, it wasn't his way of picking up chicks. It was just like his parents made him live in the wall, and then they decided that they like the parents liked that nanny and was like, hey, I think this will be like, the parents were pretty much like, yeah, that's your lady from now on, kind of thing, without her knowing that there was a man living in the wall. Yeah.
I feel like there would be, well, obviously there's a few issues before you put the child into the wall and tell him this is your lady. I would be more concerned with getting out of the wall.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So
okay.
You're fine. It really doesn't make any sense. It's a really, really dumb movie. Anyway, so with the sequel, they decide to go for the actual, it's a possessed doll thing. So the dude isn't even there. It's like literally, oh, the home is possessed and the doll is possessed and da-da-da. There's actual like possession and voodoo shit happening. It was like the dumbest shit ever. It's like, wait, you're calling it Brahms. We all thought that the fucking actor who played Brahms was gonna be there and, you know, again, kind of like do the same thing with the first movie. Lady who lives in a house and oogie spooky kind of shit. But this one was just like, it wasn't. I mean, this movie was shit anyway, you know. I feel like if they would have put the guy in the movie, I feel like if the movie was still playing the way it was and still revealed that the dude was there, it would have been kind of funny to be like, hey, he did it again, you know, because a lot of, you know, these kind of horror films, like, it's the same movie over and over again, you know, like, again, like, duh, my favorite slasher is freaking Jason, and like every movie, it's like, all right, wait for the people to get naked, he's gonna start killing all of them, awesome, and then we move on with our day. You know, like, it's just every movie is that, you know? So if like every one of, like, if he had multiple movies, every one is just him busting through a wall at the last 20 minutes of the film, fine, you know? It's the same thing with, like, what's that shit called? Like, Paranormal Activity. Like, it's always like, things kind of happen, things don't happen. The last 20 minutes is when, like, all the things fly out of the drawers and stuff, you know? Like, yeah, sure, let's do that. But instead, they decided to actually make this a haunted doll, haunted house movie, blah, blah, blah. And it was stupid. It was really bad.
I would love it if the movie was actually from, like, Wall Guy's point of view, so it's just, like, 50 minutes of him just, like,
right,
hanging out on a wall, and then just, you know, occasionally scurrying about, being like, I'm hungry, and then scurrying about and, like, maybe getting some crackers from the kitchen because
right,
he can do that, and then he just, like, goes back. It's another 5 minutes of him just, like,
right.
and then it just, like, goes on from there. Like, how do I?
Yeah, so the next movie is New Mutants. That was stupid. They released this at the same time as Tenet, and I'm so glad, like, I'm so glad I was able to watch this at home and not in the theaters, because I was actually thinking of it, where I was like, well, I went to the theater and saw Tenet, and I didn't get sick, maybe I'll risk it again to see New Mutants. Everyone seems to be excited for New Mutants. I'm glad I was just like, no, I should just stay at home, let me not risk it too much, da-da-da. And then I, like, watched New Mutants at home, and I was like, oh, it's not good. It's not good. There was like
That is far from surprising.
I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised either. It just like, it's just not good. The characters were really dumb, you know, like, I don't know, like, there's not much to say, but just like, also their mutant powers weren't even like that interesting, you know what I mean? Like,
One file taxes.
right, like, one file taxes. It's also annoying because a lot of the characters were also like, yes, it was a diverse cast, but then, you know, like we were talking about before, like, there's a thing where you try to do diversity, but then you end up with stereotypes, you know? So then, like, one of the mutants is like, I'm a southern boy, and then another one who's like, I'm a Russian lady, and not lady, they're all teenagers, duh, because they're mutants. They're like, I'm Russian, and I don't like you because I'm Russian. And it was like, what? And I tend to say, you know, like, pejoratives every so often. I'm like, why are we saying this in a mutants thing? Don't we know the fucking allegory of what the X-Men are? You know, like, Jesus Christ.
No.
There was like a bear.
No.
There was like a bear in this movie at one point. There was a bear.
Like, as a pet, or did someone turn into a bear?
You know what? It's been a while. I don't remember. Like,
That's not a good sign. If you can't remember who that bear was.
There was a bear. Bear. There was like a girl who the girl was being attacked by Vision Bear, and because of her powers, and her powers were
So she had a bad dream?
It was like a manifestation, like the bear wasn't really there, it was all in her mind, I think. I mean, really, does it really matter? It wasn't good at all. Like,
so she had a night terror about a bear.
but then it became true because other people saw the bear. Like, it was like because of her powers, this bear was like hunting her down. Was that it? Like, even I'm questioning it, like, is that it, or I'm just trying to make it better?
I mean, that would be, I doubt that's what's happening, because that could turn into an interesting, like, what if somebody who was a mutant did have intense anxiety or, like, some sort of mental health issues where it did hurt them more than it helped them, but then again, that would involve writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that at first. I thought it was. I think it initially approached in that kind of way, but it turns out it was like, because of you and this person has been hunting mutants. Like the whole point of like the New Mutants saying that they're all at a psych ward. So it's not, they're not at like Charles Xavier's place. They're at a psych ward where people are gathering these, you know, teenage mutants.
And there's just turtles in the background, and no one explains it.
No one explains it. I'm squeak. Anyway, so stupid. Anyway, so so they're gathering all these teenage mutants to like study and shit. So they all think they're mentally fucked. They don't realize that they have powers, and the grown-ups are studying them. And so, anyway, there was a bear, and then there was, like, a fight. And it's so weird because, like, a lot of them didn't get along, especially, like, Russian girl was like, I'm my own person. I have a dragon and a sock puppet, and I have blonde hair. And I was like, was she even Russian, or am I just making this up now? Like, I just realized, I'm like, or am I just mixing up that actress's, like, characters that she's played? See, look at that. Look what this movie's done to me. I don't even remember. And I remember so many of these other terrible movies, and that's saying something. Anyway, she did have a sock puppet, and then she would have, like, a dragon and stuff, and she can shape shift, or again, is that just my brain telling me that she can do that? Like, anywho. So the next movie, and we've talked long about this, is Wonder Woman 1984. And boy, howdy, was that a movie.
It was filmed.
It was filmed. It was edited in a capacity.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was there were editors in the credits. There was
Pedro Pascal was amazing. That's like the only positive thing I could say was just Pedro Pascal was amazing in it. Everyone else just
yeah.
Chris Pine was just being a himbo, so it wasn't even like, it was just Chris Pine just not, well, he's not a himbo, but he was being a himbo, so he was enjoyable, but everyone else felt like they were phoning it in, you know?
Gal Gadot, I don't mind her acting in that. That was okay, but what's her name? Kristen Wiig, I think is her name?
Yeah.
That was it's like, she and Pedro Pascal, I think they both got the note where it's just like, act absolutely insane. Like, act like this is a cartoon show. And she went, okay, I'm going to make everyone uncomfortable because I am going to act like a very two-dimensional. I don't know if it was script, I don't know if it was coaching, but she seemed like an actual crazy person that I would never want to meet. Like, She would be that irritating person who was trying to ingratiate you by being nice enough. And then Pedro Pascal actually felt like he's this guy who is trying to, like, get money and fame for a specific reason, like probably his family, and was, like, doing it in the most elaborate, like, way that he could because that was his actual personality.
Right.
Like, he felt like a cartoon, but someone you wouldn't hate in the cartoon, as opposed to, oh god, this cartoon came to life, oh!
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely a movie. It was definitely a movie. I think.
And then there was a cat.
What?
And then there was a cat.
Yeah, and then there was a cat. Yeah, I think I liked like the Game Grumps like quickly kind of mentioned the movie in one of their episodes, and they were saying like, yeah, people really hated it, and then like Danny goes, yeah, well, you know, when you have to get a whole like when you have to buy a whole streaming service just to watch the one movie, yeah, I would understand why you'd get upset, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. It's partly that, but it's also just the fact that the first movie
was so amazing.
like what happened? Like what? Well, it's just like the weird editing. Like even in the beginning, we've already talked about this before, but it's just like the fact that, you know, Gal Gadot is saving everybody in this mall in God knows where. I guess it's New York, DC.
DC, yeah, because they're
DC, and you know, it's like the little girl is like saved by her lasso and thrown into the big bear, and it does like weird, like for some reason maybe they just had to burn like 2 extra minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That just like the going back and forth from Gal Gadot, little girl, Gal Gadot, wink, little girl, Gal Gadot again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, girl, they've had 2 extra minutes to see you.
Mm-hmm.
How are you gonna do this? Like what editor said, yeah, we need both the wink and the pursed lips, and we can't do it in the same shot. We
Right.
can't.
Like
Can't.
I feel like what had happened was that mall scene, you know, because we saw it in the trailer, was like whoever edited the trailers, like put it together, and then like I feel like it's great for a trailer, but then when it came for the movie, they were like, oh shit, where's the original files? What happened to it? We'll just throw the trailer parts in it. It just felt like that, you know, because it was so edited like a trailer. But we're watching a movie, you can't do that anymore, you know.
Right.
You know, yeah.
It was very strange, and we've already talked a lot about like the writing and the just why are there cows? Why is that the thing we're going to focus on?
I said I wanted a farm, but not here. Like, okay,
And then
thanks.
nothing else bad happened to that guy because he walked away from the cows.
And the cows were there, but then remember when you know, take back your wish, bombs unbomb themselves.
There were still probably quite a few people who died and did not come back.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if that guy just wished, I hope you die. Like, it was unclear if that was his wife who he said, I hope you die, or just like him being the asshole patron at a pizza place.
Right,
Just
right.
like, whoa. Did he ever unwish his wish, or was he just that psycho who's just like, nah, I got pizza now?
Right. Bitch is dead. Moving on with my day, you know, like yeah. And then the final thing on this fucking list of all things is the Craft Legacy. Now, did you ever watch the original Craft from the 90s?
I don't think I have, no.
Oh my god. It's like the staple of like every goth kid. So obviously, you know,
Yeah.
I like love it.
Yes, there's a lot of staple films where I will know the title. I will know, like, 2 hashtag words from it. And then I'll be like, yep, I'm sure I'm missing out quite a bit, and I don't know what a lot of references are.
Right. Um yeah, I hated this. I really did. I didn't even know that this was coming out until like one or two of the film blogs I follow on Tumblr like did one of those like side by side things where it's like the from the trailer of the movie and then the original one. So you saw like, you know, like the original movie where like the girls are like, oh, we are the weirdos, da da da, you know, and that's like such like hashtag tagline on every like, you know, indie goth person's like clothing line. They always do like we are the weirdos or something like that. Like believe me, I've seen enough. I'm like, I get it. You know? And then like you see like the newer group who that are saying like we are the weirdos, and I'm like, oh god. So here's the thing with this. It's not a remake, it is a sequel. I don't it's a sequel, but I don't want to say it because it's diminishing the original one, you know? It's like, how dare you? The original was so good. Anyway, so, okay, the original one, you know, it's got 4 girls. It's, you know, 3 white girls and a black girl. This one, this also, even though it's under, I put it under a franchise sequel, it's also obviously well, it's not horror, but there's like a foot and a half into the too woke overcorrectiveness kind of stuff. Because in their group, so of course it's a diverse group, which is fine. It's fine. It's, we're in a new age, there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like what I said in my review is that, again, there's one thing where you want to have diversity, but there's another thing where there's one thing where it's, yes, diversity, boom, we're good. But then there's the checklist diversity, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like, we got a duh. So, like, in the group, it was like, we've got, like, a kid who, like, we got one in the group who is a little bit on the plus size thing. Okay, we have someone who is one of them is trans. Guys, I got the checklist. It didn't feel like inclusive. It felt like more like, we got it. We got a plus size. We got a trans. We got a black, or you know what I mean, like it's like it felt like writing off a checklist kind of thing. It didn't feel genuine, like it's a diverse cast. It felt like, well, we have to make it diverse because it's 2019, 2020. You know what I mean? It felt more like the way I was coming off felt more like that, you know?
And they're somehow all played by white women.
Right? Just put the tape there, just get the bronzer, yeah. If the movie felt very checklisty and all that stuff, then it was also like, oh my god, it was the whole like, the way how they discovered each other have powers was like really dumb, you know, whereas like in the original one, it was just like it's similar here, where it's like new girl moves in, they go to high school, notice that girl is kind of off, and then they're like, we've got our fourth and all that stuff. And it's pretty much like replaying the movie all over again, but like, again, it's not really a remake, it's a sequel, blah blah blah, because it ties in and all that dumb shit. Like, when people complain about how Force Awakens is like, you know what I mean? Like, when people go like, oh, I hated Force Awakens because they were just redoing, like, A New Hope or some shit. I was like, I have a list of movies that do that even worse. So, if you want to talk, you know what I mean? Like, whenever shit, like whenever people go like, that's the worst movie I've ever seen, I'm like, is it? Is it really the worst movie? I've got a list, you know?
Like, you should just, I know you're not an anime fan, but if you know, like, Yu-Gi-Oh memes at all, you just pull out, like, the heart of the cards, and it's just very disappointing.
Oh, yeah, I bet, yeah. Like,
you just put cards together to make an awful afternoon of just, well, yes, the two woke movies. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep all that imagery in my head.
Yeah. No, but I get what you mean. I've seen those memes before. Like, I within context, like, I'm like, okay, I get what you mean. You know? But yeah, so it's like, it's trying to rehash all that shit. Like, God, fuck this movie again, because I love the original so much. And the original one still holds up. It still holds up. You know? It's still good. You know? And then, of course, it kind of tries to do the same thing with the original, where, like, one of them wants to cast a spell, someone to love them, and it's like, oh, fuck off. It's so dumb. And then there's, like, David Duchovny's in the movie, so I'm like, ooh, Mulder, I love him, you know? But he came off creepy, which I was like, no, Mulder's not creepy. So I already knew, I'm like, he's the bad guy. And then, oh my god, talk about overcorrective wokeness. So David Duchovny has, like, his own, like, cult of, like, this sounds really gross, but a cult of young men, but, like, young men who are, like, trying to take back what men need. Like, men's right activist kind of thing. Like, we are not yeah, it's, like, so bad. He was like, we're not gonna be bogged down to jibba jibba blah, men need to be men again, blah 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 blah. It was so bad. I was like, really? Really, we're going with this? Which also makes it worse, because then the movie is trying to be like inclusive, like woke and stuff, and then they're like, this man is bad because he's talking about how men need to be men again, and it's like, you're all terrible. Like,
so were they trying to get back magic?
and then when the girls delivered the line of like, we are the weirdos, like, it just didn't work. Like, okay.
I still imagine.
It was delivered like if in the 90s TikTok existed and the movie had come out and then people had reenacted the scene for their TikTok. Does that make any sense? Like,
yeah.
Because we are too old for that shit. And I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? Because, like, now, like, whatever shit happens and people, like, do it for their TikTok or whatever.
That doesn't sound good. I'm still imagining Mueller trying to fight for his right to wear a witch hat. Pretty sure that's not what happens, but that's how I'm going to imagine this movie.
Whatever you're thinking of is better than what it's. You know, like, how many times we'll talk about movies and then, like, my brain tries to correct the film and I'd be like, oh, I thought they were gonna go in this direction. You were like when we were watch Breen, and I would say, like, oh, I thought he was gonna go in this direction. You're like, you're giving that too much credit. You're giving it a plot and blah blah blah. Like, I try to make it make sense, and then you're like, no, you know what? Not make sense, but let's just make it like fun. And then you go off in your tangent. But either way, we're both wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, we are both wrong because what we made would have been better, and at least somebody would be like, haha, at least I don't feel uncomfortable or dirty watching that old man.
Yes. 2020 was a shitty year, and the movies were worse. Fuck. Because it's like, they didn't really want to be releasing a lot of the good ones, you know what I'm saying? So, the bad ones, they were like, oh, I guess we can put it out now, everyone can watch it. And now, I end up watching it because there was nothing else to watch. Thank you.
Yes. This will be a great year to come out with something because everyone will be desperate for any form of entertainment. It will just be hamsters.
What?